All right, family, let's jump into it. Dear Dr. Dandridge, I'm a nurse and I thought I dealt with grief a long time ago when I lost my brother to illness 22 years back. I buried it, moved forward, and never really let myself think about it. But last week, a patient came in with the same condition my brother had. And suddenly, I was right back in that hospital room watching him die. I can't believe how quickly the pain resurfaced. I thought I had healed. How do I handle grief that comes roaring back decades later I was already, when I thought it was already put to rest? Wow. Let's unpack this. Number one, you're a nurse. And one of the things that I've seen healthcare professionals battle the most and struggle with the most is the element of mirroring with our patients. We cannot help sometimes but to see ourselves in the eyes of those that we are serving. I remember when I was doing my clinical pastoral education, there were a couple of cases that resonated deeply with me because they reminded me of people like my father who passed. They reminded me of friends who had passed. They reminded me of my grandmother who had passed. They're working inside of healthcare. You can't help sometimes but to see yourself inside of your patient's experience. So I want to compliment you, number one, for joining your patient inside of their moment of change, inside of their moment of transition. It's interesting because, and I think I've said this before, it's interesting because grief kind of goes and comes in waves. One day we're feeling great, the next day we're not so great. One day we're feeling high and full of joy, the next day we're deep down in sorrow. Let me also say it this way: 1 year we're feeling great, the next year we're deep inside of our sorrow. 1 year we're experiencing a lot of joy. 1 year we're inside of the deepest drones of depression. Grief has a way of showing up sometimes unannounced. I'm just going to be honest. It does, especially when we begin to see other individuals struggling or experiencing the same change or condition that we have also experienced. It's one word that I learned inside of my clinical pastoral education that you are experiencing right now. It's a very powerful word because a lot of people don't experience this, and that is compassion. The reason you are experiencing this roar, I think, how did you term it? How do I handle grief that comes roaring back decades later? The reason why you're experiencing this roar inside of your life is because you're really experiencing compassion. You're really experiencing the fact that you're not just empathizing with this patient and their family, you're expressing a deep seated level of love that no one else can. And to be quite frank, as a nurse and inside of the medical profession, you have the opportunity to meet this family inside of this environment like no one else can. I do believe that certain things are divinely ordered and divinely put in place for us to be inside of the right place at the right time. I believe that possibly you could be inside of this position because, number one, you might have some unresolved grief that you still need to kind of work through. But then also, number two, you may have resolved your grief and resolved it in a way where you have fully and completely healed, and you are the only person inside of this family's environment that can get them now to that level of healing. You said something interesting. You said the patient came in with the same condition that your brother had, and suddenly you are right back in that hospital room watching him die. Grief is like a postal worker. Grief is like the ultimate stamp giver in life. A lot of people, when I come in contact with them, can pinpoint the moment their grief started. They can pinpoint the moment somebody passed away. They can pinpoint the moment they lost the job. They can pinpoint the moment that the relationship broke up. They can pinpoint the moment that they were told that their car was being totaled after they had just paid it off. Literally, grief is like a postal worker. And sometimes that stamp will stay on that envelope for the longest time, but never make it to the sender or the recipient until it's supposed to. Sometimes grief puts that stamp on that envelope and we send it off, and then it comes right back to us. And it's like, no, it's something else that I needed you to put inside of this letter before you sent me off. Or there's something else that I needed to tell you or to address before I completely go away. Like I said before, I think that you have an opportunity to truly join your patient. And to be honest, I mean, you didn't say what type of nurse that you were. I don't know if you're a hospice nurse or an ER nurse, or um, if you work in oncology. That might have been your opportunity that you were able to join them. I'm sure that you probably said something or even did something that was done out of compassion, where other individuals might have just brushed it off or done something, but you had a different level of awareness inside of that moment. And I want you to acknowledge that awareness that you had, and suggest to yourself that maybe there was something that you did inside of that moment with that patient because of your awareness that was different than what another nurse would have done had they walked inside of the same room. You said, I can't believe how quickly the pain resurfaced. Grief is not only a postal worker, it is also a bulldozer driver. Grief sometimes will come out of nowhere and completely wreck us to our core. And it is okay. I want you to pat yourself on the back and give yourself grace because you allowed it to resurface. A lot of people, when they're experiencing grief, would have just suppressed it and said, you know something, this patient reminds me of my brother who passed away 22 years ago. I'm not going back there. But no, you said it came roaring back, and it sounds like you let it come roaring back, which is a beautiful thing. This moment reminded you and gave you a memorial of your brother. This moment also might have been, again, like I said, I believe in divine guidance and divine influence. This also may have been your brother saying, hey, I'm still here. Hey, I'm still. This may have been your brother saying, hey, I need you now to show up for this family the same way that you showed up for me. Just possibly. Just possibly. I feel like I'm rambling, but I'm hoping that it's making at least a little bit of sense, because this is actually a lot to unpack. 22 years of grief resurfacing itself. That's a lot. But it's more common than you think. I've talked to people who birthdays, holidays, special days, just random moments, and grief just overwhelms them. And it's years later. I've experienced it myself. It's like years later, it's like, God, why am I getting so emotional all of a sudden? It's natural. It's normal. I think I've said this before. Grief is truly never finished its work. It's always transforming us. It's always guiding us. It's always changing us. One of the things that I say inside of designing your goodbyes is that we move forward with love, but it does not erase the hurt. It does not erase the pain. It does not erase the guilt. But what it does do, grief allows us to have those emotions, and it allows those emotions to walk alongside the counter emotions like joy and peace and happiness and contentment. It is a balance. And you might never experience these emotions again for another 22 years, and that's perfectly okay. You might revisit and have to start the grief process all over again now with your brother because of this trigger. That's another thing I think I might talk about it inside of a future episode, how we are triggered by grief. But your trigger today was the fact that you were able to mirror yourself inside of your patient's experience. And a lot of us are able to mirror ourselves inside of other people's experience, and it triggers our own grief. It's not a bad thing. Like I said, it's actually the root of love, and a level of love that a lot of people cannot express, and that is the level of compassion. So I pray that if you do get a chance to interact with this patient again or with their family again, that you give yourself some grace in realizing that you do have a different capacity to show you do have a different capacity to show compassion to this family inside of there and inside of this new environment and inside of this moment of transition, that no one else can. And maybe this is your call. This is your purpose. This is your opportunity to resolve your own grief, but then also to work through your own grief as you're helping someone else work through the exact same experience that you experienced over 22 years ago. So thank you so much for writing in. Thank you for joining me at my desk and designing your goodbyes. This is Dr. Dandridge, and I will see you inside of the next episode, okay?